Brenda and
Hello.
Kelsey. And hi, and thanks everybody for joining. I am patient again as we kick off 2021. I thought it would be a good idea to have the guest that had the most watched program of 2020, Kelsey.
What an honor to have been a part of this whole thing, and it's such an honor to be back this year.
You know what I think? I think at the end of the day, we're all shameless and like free medical advice.
Yes. Yep.
So
I'm all about it too. So I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, let me remind everybody. So Kelsey Flynn is an oncology nurse that quickly at the start of pandemic, back in, I think it was March of 2020, Kelsey went from taking care of oncology patients in the Boston area to quickly becoming a COVID nurse. And I think I can speak for all of us thinking that when we were hearing you last year, we couldn't imagine that it would get worse. But as Kelsey just reminded me, today the US is now over 400,000 deaths from COVID and climbing. So Kelsey, through all this sad news, I know you had some personal good news. I think last year when we were talking with you, you were going through the application process, but you've been accepted to Harvard Medical School, and you're doing a master's degree in bioethics, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's
to round out your resume. So let's pivot, and I want to hear about all things Harvard, but I first want to also start off with what is sort of the current situation from your perspective as a healthcare professional about COVID today? What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Right. So since we last spoke, I have gone back to taking care of oncology patients. Our unit is oncology, but we're also caring for COVID oncology patients as well. And the state of our hospital, and I know hospitals all around Massachusetts and all around the country, I've been in contact with a lot of my nurse colleagues in California, and then those that have moved, they live down in South Carolina and North Carolina, and then in the DC area where I went to nursing school. And all of us feel the same. We are inundated with patients at the hospital. All of our emergency departments are completely full. And it is known in this area that where I work, it's a huge Boston hospital, and the conditions in the emergency department are awful. So bad that our CEO went down to take a look at what the conditions were, and there's really just, we can't defer so many people, and lots of people are coming in, not only with COVID, but with other illnesses that pop up through, anybody with an MI or people who are getting the flu. The hospitals are definitely we're hurting and exhausted. We've been dealing with this for almost a year now. And we haven't seen the number of people coming in subside yet. We're hoping that after the surge from the holidays, we're hoping in the next few weeks we'll see the numbers start to trend down. We get updates every day from our hospital administration about the number of COVID patients in the emergency department, number of COVID patients inpatient throughout the hospital, and then the number of COVID patients in the ICU. And yesterday when I checked, we had the most people in the ICU that I've seen since the spring, and that was over 40. Wow. Luckily, my unit can remain inpatient oncology. We haven't had to flip. We have different phases of surge, and our general care floors are there are 3 stages. We're in that 2nd stage, and all of the ICUs are in the 3rd stage. So it has not gotten better, only worse since the holidays.
So, I mean, this is just, it's unreal. And I feel like, there's sort of 2 camps of people, right? There's people that are sort of feeling like this isn't a big deal. Why wear a mask? I'm not going to even take a vaccine. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't, I want to, support all people. But to me, the mask wearing is just simple. It's a no-brainer. And while COVID may be with us forever, now there's different variations and strains. I mean, I could imagine that our future looks like every year when you get the flu shot for the different variants, every year you're going to get the COVID shot, because COVID is not going to disappear off the face of the earth. But, I think for the people that, are even scared to get the vaccine. So I want the vaccine. I don't, for me personally, I'm not an anti-vax person, but I'm scared. I mean, I have allergies. I have a chronic medical condition, and I know a lot of people in the community are also afraid to take the shot, but we want it and we know it might be for the best. So I know that you have studied a lot about the vaccine and you've received the vaccine. So can you talk to me and share your perspective on this?
Sure. So I will tell you, Brenda, I felt the same way when they first announced that the FDA had approved for emergency use. So I want to clarify for people, it's approved for emergency use in the United States. So it has not been approved completely. And as a healthcare professional and someone who's worked with COVID patients, but also someone who I have chronic, I have asthma, I have allergies. I was very worried, and me and my coworkers, we wondered, do we get this? They aren't forcing us to get it, but we talked it out. We talked it out at work, and then we discussed it in the classroom. So I was in a research ethics class where I fortunately had a researcher from Pfizer, so one of the companies that's created the vaccine. We had class the day that some of the research was released to the media, and we asked, is this research valid? Is this science good? What do we think about the statistics that are coming out about the effectiveness of the vaccines? And so we discussed it in class, and it made me feel more secure in my decision to get the vaccine, that the science is good, the information that we're getting from the research is good and valid and statistically significant. And they're obviously continuing the research with the waves of people getting the vaccine. They're collecting information from all of the people in wave A. So I came to the point of deciding to get the vaccine because it gave me hope for a little bit of normalcy in the future. I also felt that the FDA wouldn't allow emergency use of something that was unsafe in the initial stages of the vaccine. And I also felt, why not be a part of history, of science, of trying to beat this thing? So that is how I came to my decision. I also want to see my family. My brother and sister-in-law are, they're very close, and I want to be able to go visit them. I want to be able to go see my dad, who's immunocompromised. I want to see my grandfather. And just, I'll get to this later about the specifics of how we should be acting even after getting vaccinated. Just because.
Go ahead. Tell me now. I know a lot of people, think, woohoo, I've got my second shot. I'm ready to party. But apparently we're going to be wearing the masks for a long time.
Yeah, because it is so new. The vaccine is so new, and we're still collecting information. We don't know if you can still be a carrier of the vaccine. In fact, a bunch of us nurses, at least on my floor, we're part of a study where weekly we get swabs to test after we've gotten vaccinated to see if we come back positive for COVID. That way they know, they're able to collect information to see if it's spreading. That's usually part of the whole shebang. It usually takes over 2 years to get a vaccine to market. To get any sort of therapeutic to market, as you know, takes about 7 to 8 years. for full safety. So we're still in the infancy, despite the fact that it's been a year, we're still in the infancy of learning A, about COVID, and B, about what this vaccine will do to protect the person who gets vaccinated, how long we have immunity. We're still learning that. They can't tell us exactly how long we'll have immunity. So because of that, we are still encouraged to wear our masks, wash our hands, and then socially distance. And make sure you're quarantined before you go visit people. Yes, there's that light of hope because we'll be vaccinated against getting sick. Again, it's only, and by only, I mean it is 90 to 95% effective after the second shot, depending on which one you get. And there's still that 5 to 10% chance that you could get COVID. Just like when you get the flu vaccine, you can still get the flu. That is just something I'm going to sound like a broken record, I feel, when I give my suggestions again. But continue to wear your mask, continue to socially distance, just be smart about your social interactions. With how high the infection rate is right now, so how many people actually are being diagnosed with COVID daily in the United States, statistically, you are more likely to get it going to the grocery store or going to a small social event where you think everyone else was safe and has been doing all the same things you have been to stay safe. But then you find out a few days later when you get a phone call from either the CDC or from them, and this has happened at work. A lot of my coworkers who've come down with COVID, we didn't have any infections until the end of the summer. None of my coworkers got it, and we were swimming in COVID. We say we were swimming in it because we were in the ICU. We were with these patients daily, but we had PPE that worked. It was the holidays and kind of letting our guard down and assuming that everyone was following the same precautions that
for sure
we're following.
It's totally about assumptions, I think, and you get a little, I don't want to say you get a little lazy, but this is a hell of a thing to endure. I mean, everybody that I talk to, and it's even rubbed off on me today. I've had like 5 phone calls and everybody was a little cranky today, and saying, I'm so sick of this. But so you get a little lazy and you think, well, okay, I can see them for just a minute. I'll wear my mask. But it's just a little window opening, a little slippery slope. And I read that most of the infections now are happening within your household. It's basically, thinking you're upholding, and actually you're not. I know my husband is from Switzerland, for those of you that don't know my husband, and announced some new rules that went into effect yesterday, and it is now, illegal, for lack of a better term, to have more than 5 people, and that includes children, in a social setting outside of 2 households. So, this weekend I went with my family, but there were 7 of us, and by Swiss standards, that's too many. And I love my family, but I think about 1 or 2 of them, and I think, there was some risk there. They go see other people. They still go to a gym. So, I'm hyper focused now on if I don't want to get it, and I don't know when I will get the vaccine. I mean, it just seems to taking, hopefully the rollout gets better. That it's almost time, as much as I don't want to lock down again, but if I don't want it, I really better mind my P's and Q's really hard for the next 30 to 60 days.
Right. That's actually what we've been recommending to all of our oncology patients, to act as though it's March again, which is so hard. It's so hard because we're so tired, we're so fatigued. Our mental health is just as important to see the people that we love. Luckily, we have platforms like Zoom and Facebook chat and all of and FaceTime. It's very different to interact over the computer. However, I think we just have to hold out a little bit longer and bring those numbers down again. Part of what we're seeing at the bedside, at the front lines, in addition to people having COVID, it's the moral distress they have now because they know where they were exposed, and they think to themselves, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have gone to this birthday party. I shouldn't have had these people over. And it's so hard because they've been living like this. They've been living in seclusion for months, and now they're sick, and they're very sick. So they're immunocompromised and very ill. And to see that play out is also very hard, because I don't know what to say, to be honest. Like, I don't know what to say, and I don't think any of us do. And you know, we know people are trying their best, and that's what I tell them. You're trying your best. And if you're not trying your best, then, you know, there's always that chance that you can get it. And it's so hard. Like you said, you don't want to be judgmental, and people are comfortable with. And everybody has a slightly different opinion about what's safe and what's not safe. And at the end of the day, if you lose a loved one, was the party worth it? And that is how I look at it. And the phone calls I have with my grandfather, who is, he has multiple health conditions. He's in his 80s, hoping to get the vaccine soon, in like April-ish. If we get there. He said we could have it worse. One of us could be gone. And he's right. He's right. So
that's so true.
That's how I look at it.
So, I think you're right. And it's real. And, you know, again, I think, and I promise you, wonderful viewers and listeners, I'm not going to talk about COVID every time, because we're all so sick about talking about COVID. But I think it's important, since we have expertise. You know, I do want all of you to get through this safely. I don't know how many of you have lost someone. We directly know people that have passed away from this, so it is personal. And, you know, I want everybody to be safe. So did the shot hurt, Kelsey?
It did. It still hurts. And I'm getting my second one I had to move it, because so they say the symptoms of fatigue and potentially getting a fever and the chills are more likely after the second dose. And a few of my coworkers have gotten their second dose and have experienced those things. And I was supposed to work a few days after getting the vaccine, so I moved it to like the tail end of that. I'll be getting it on the 29th, but my left arm is pretty tender.
Wow.
And so the main symptoms for the shot, the most reported side effects are a rash at the injection site, redness at the injection site, extreme fatigue. They're saying fever and chills after that second dose. So I don't really know anybody who felt super sick after the first dose, but I know several people who've felt very
interesting. Interesting.
I felt fatigued. Like, I don't sleep well in general, and I slept for 9 hours and then took multiple naps 3 days after getting the first shot. And then I felt fine. And I didn't get it. This was so weird to me. So, and I reported it, but obviously it's new, so they didn't really know what to say other than take some allergy medication. I got a rash at the injection site about 9 days after the shot.
Interesting.
And it was clearly like the circle exactly where I got the shot.
Well, you're not talking us into taking this, girl.
But the doctors all said that it means your immune system's working.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If you are getting these symptoms, it means that your immune system is working. And
that's true.
And it doesn't necessarily mean if you don't get symptoms that it's not going to work for you. However, if you get symptoms, it means your immune system's is learning the virus. So it's
crazy times.
I'd rather have an achy arm than potentially end up on a ventilator, or have someone I love end up on a ventilator in the ICU.
You want to avoid the ventilator for sure.
Yes.
I know we've gotten more treatment since we talked, remdesivir.
Yep, remdesivir.
Quickly highlight some of the treatments, and are we seeing anything different with treatments that,
Yes.
when we started on this journey, March and April, we are doing that's very different now?
Yes, we can use steroids now, so dexamethasone, unless you have an allergy, they're utilizing that for patients, which we all wanted to do at the beginning, but usually you don't use that for viral infections, but the dex has definitely helped, or prednisone, whatever your doctor decides. So it's the steroids are approved to be used immediately, and then remdesivir has been approved to, it helps decrease symptoms and gets people out of the hospital faster. So what we found is that these things have helped people get less sick. They still have to stay in the hospital. We monitor their O2, but they're staying for a little bit less amount of time. The biggest thing I want to highlight is that there are a lot of anticoagulation issues that are popping up, especially in younger people who get COVID. So we're starting people on anticoagulants, so blood thinners.
So that they don't throw a clot, have a stroke, embolism. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people who had COVID and mild symptoms of COVID in the spring and summer are coming in with symptoms of PEs or DVTs, and we're finding out that the virus has caused these clotting issues. So it's definitely important, if anybody out there who had COVID in the spring or summer, that you're following up with your PCP, whether that be virtually or if you feel safe and they feel safe having you come in to the office, to make sure that you're checking in with them about that as well.
Yeah, that's great advice, because again, with the clotting, and then just the, I read an article, X-rays for people that look worse than a 3-pack a day smoker. So it is important, and then there's people that have done, haven't missed a beat. So, but I think it's always important, and especially for us guys out there that, at least watch this program. Most of you come to me or Snow via your own healthcare or your family members' healthcare challenge. So keep those lines of communication open, because it's not just your MS or your lupus or your RA or your cancer or your rare genetic condition, that you have. Then we've got to battle this COVID. And I know that sometimes, even throughout this year, I thought, is it because I've got COVID now? Did I catch COVID? It was like, no, it was like a cold, or I had a little MS flare or something. So it is really important to talk to your healthcare professional throughout this journey. I know we could always talk to you for hours, Kelsey, but we're bumping up, I think, coming up here on 25 minutes to a half an hour. I mean, what is it that, you would really impart to our audience that we haven't talked about, of like how COVID is different, or your sort of advice from 20 to 21 as we're coming up on a year here? What are some of your impressions?
So it's less deadly now, even though we reached that milestone today, unfortunately. But the biggest thing we can do to prevent spreading the virus, and I know you hear it all the time, and it's kind of like in one ear out the other now, but it's wash your hands, wear your mask, make sure you're cleaning the high touch surface areas, your cell phone, door handles to your car, just those high touch things that you don't really think about, like being super dirty. Make sure you're cleaning your phone every day. Make sure that you're just being mindful in that regard. And then that's literally all I have to say about like what we can do to prevent the spread. But there is hope. And for those of you out there, for the vaccine, I have a couple of just tidbits. I know that there was some information out there about, information that.
Okay, I had the same thing. Go ahead, start from the top. So start again. Vaccine.
For the vaccine, if you're pregnant, a lot of my friends who are pregnant have reached out to me asking if it's safe for them to get the vaccine. they did not specifically test on pregnant women. The CDC and FDA recommend that if you're pregnant, you talk to your OBGYN, and just like the flu vaccine, which is recommended for women in pregnancy, that if you and your OBGYN say that it's safe for you to get it, definitely, hands down, get it. If you're breastfeeding, the immunity to COVID-19 could pass through your breast milk, so that would be good for your baby. And there's no known issues with the vaccine passing through breast milk. And then what was the other thing? If you're immunocompromised, talk with your healthcare professional about whether or not it's safe for you to get the vaccine. If you usually get vaccines, then definitely have the conversation.
Yeah.
If you have any allergies to vaccines, you know, they might say, let's wait this one out. But definitely, I think the pregnancy and then the breast milk question have come up a lot. And then fertility. There is no research. I know that there was this big misinformation going around about the vaccine causing infertility. There is no research to prove that point.
Interesting. Okay.
So there, and it's everywhere. They have made sure we know that when we're getting the vaccine at work. Women of childbearing age, they make that very clear when we're getting the vaccine, that there is no research to support that it would cause infertility. So I just wanted to say those things, because those are some arguments against getting it that have been popping up, at least for
great
life. So.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah.
That's great. You know, and I think I would tag team onto this, you know, something we were talking about at the top of the show. You know, I've worked on bringing some of the largest blockbuster products to market since the 1990s. So anything that has a UMAB at the end of it. So monoclonal antibodies, so many. And, you know, I've seen drugs come on the market. There was concerns about safety because of a few isolated cases. You know, they studied them. The drugs have come back onto the market. So I think at the end of the day, what my expertise that I would share with you is I wouldn't be definitive. I wouldn't have this mindset of like, there's no way I'm ever taking it. But if you are nervous and afraid, just remember, as the drug goes to a larger patient population, you know, and pretty soon we're going to hopefully have 100 million people worldwide that have had their first vaccine, you know, their first shot. You know, yes, you hear about the bad cases of side effects, but you know, when you look at the aggregate of how many people have taken it, this is a small amount. Now, the reason it's great that more people take it is because when it's in a larger patient population, we can start to see, okay, is there a trend? Is there something here we need to look at? Or is this what we expected? I think right now it's about what we expected. I think we just hear about it more because it's new and we're all scared shitless, excuse my French.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, and if you are one of the people that are nervous, okay, I'd say maybe you can wait a couple months if you're washing your hands, wearing your mask and this kind of thing. If you want to see it in a larger patient population a little bit longer, but I would really say as your friend, I'd advise you to not be so definitive on the no, you know, until you lose someone or you see what it's like to live on a vent. It's always about the benefit and the risk in health care. And it might be that the benefit of a COVID vaccine long-term is much better than the risk of, you know, horrible consequences from this effing virus. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah. Thank you, Brenda. There's one other thing I wanted to add that I think is very important to share. The vaccine is not a live virus, so you cannot get COVID from getting the vaccine. I've gotten that question quite a bit too. So it's not a live virus. So that's something I wanted to share as well. So
yeah, it's mitochondrial RNA, technology. So you can all Google that one. Hey, and I've been vaccinated against everything. I was going to go to Africa a couple of years ago and had an MS attack and never made it there, but I've been vaccinated to everything. So I'm going to step up and get live. And who knows, maybe I could get my doctor to do it live, and I'll do it live on Facebook. Wow.
Yes.
So, well, listen, Kelsey, I love your attitude. You always are a ray of sunshine and bring a lot of hope and have great information. And, we might have to get you back on here in a few months and see how it went and talk to all of our great patients out there. And again, I just want to remind everybody that today what Kelsey and I talked about, are our opinions and our perspectives. We're not trying to tell you what to do. We just want to give you some love and give you some perspective. And ultimately, you should talk to your healthcare professional, your team, about what's best for you as it relates to your healthcare and COVID and the vaccine. This is just a chat because I feel that getting knowledge and hearing different perspectives has been important for me in my life, and it's how I learn and make decisions. So that's all we're trying to do. So we love you, everybody. Kelsey, I love you very much. It's been wonderful to be in your life for, 12 years now, I think, and very proud of you. Congratulations on Harvard, and they are lucky. They're lucky that you're going to be an alumni. I can say that much for sure.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, and we'll have Kelsey back. Nurse Kelsey, definitely not Nurse Ratchet. So, no, she's the best. Okay, so coming up, I think we've got a friend of mine who's a doctor, a family. So that day we will try to get your questions answered. I think we've got a great patient coming up. I'm working on a president of an advocacy organization, and then I'm finishing up working on a regular once a month exercise coach to do 20 minutes with us, whether we're standing or we're seating. So I'll let you know when those are coming, so stay tuned. Want your 15 to 30 minutes you spend with us twice a month to be worth your while. So go, live well, have peace, stay healthy, stay safe, and until next time, this is Kelsey and Brenda. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Love you. Take care.